Wow, I don't need any light at all. I prefer to be invisible and ask you to come on stage and smell my enthusiasm being here. I just got back from Costa Rica, where I had 2,500 audience that were just euphoric out there. So let's get going here. Let's activate the senses to understand what's going on in the world. We live in a world that is totally disembodied. Where is the tool that enables me to move to the next slide? Somebody forgot to give it to me, because I'm not going to stay here and push a button. I have problems with buttons. I learned last night that can have huge consequences. Where is the... Anyway, you all know this creature. We are equipped, I call it the body is the hardware, the senses are the softwares. Amazing softwares we have for free. It costs nothing. In the best scenario, we are born with a healthy set of softwares. Everything else costs money. This is what the softwares do. Unfortunately, we are primarily relying on what we see. He, she, it looks like. And in addition to that, we clean up the rest. The world we live in is sanitized, deodorized, perfumized, removed from all type of information that might make us understand the world we live in a more holistic, complex way. This needs to be changed. Smell is pure information. These creatures surround you all time, full time. We breathe up to 24,000 times a day. We move 12.7 cubic meter air every day with our body. Every breath, we inhale smell molecules. This is information about a situation that is very important for you understanding and navigate and communicate in that very moment. 15% of this information are used, the rest remain in our subconscious till we die. All this information is tremendous important. And you start recording this from very beginning of life. The first breath you do in the stomach of your mother is starting the process of smelling, identifying the world. You smell your mother before you see the mother. Smell provides information of danger. Smell provides information about someone. The Inuits still smell each other before they see each other. If you Google smelling, people smelling, you get this. If you Google smelling people, you get this. If you Google Sissel Tolaas, you get this. In the beginning of the 90s, I decided to change my life. I started to ask questions. Listen, I don't want just to rely on what I see. I want to move down a couple of centimeters in my face. Start to activate my nose the way I activate my eyes. Start off again, literally becoming a dog for a couple of years. I ended up having problems with all the prejudice I had in my backpack. So first issue of concern was, how do I get rid of all these prejudices? Off I went with my nose first, burn all existing memorized material so far, all images, everything I've recorded. I wanted to start over, record my life through smells. So off I went, putting my noses, getting arrested. For example, South Africa, I was arrested for a couple of hours, putting my nose into these wigs. And there's no limit where there are smells, and there's no limit where you can smell. But people get upset because they're not used to see this kind of action performed by humans. But you gain guts as you go on. This is a hardware store in Istanbul, a very tough situation, but I was there in my mini shirt and I had no problem. South Africa, India, and Detroit, Missouri, and beyond. So 7 years, I recorded analog. I had no clue about any existing industry out there. I just said, I want to collect smells. I want to collect the source that cause a smell that is important for me at that very moment that I want to remember for whatever reason. So here is the way I did it. Very simple analog way, collecting a smell source, packaging it, and placing it in cans. I have 7,000 smells from reality. Each of these boxes contain sufficient information for me to track back to which moment I chose those smells to represent what. This can be a person, a situation, a city, a country, and beyond. So each box have a code. In a database, I have exact information on each of the smells. This archive was created over a period of 7 years. And now it's just a database. In 2004, I got approached by the industry. Having said that, there are 5 big companies out there that literally control everything that has to do with smell and taste on this planet. And they do a good job. But primarily what they do is cover up reality for purposes that not necessarily is always positive. So I decided the only way I can contribute to change this world is starting to collaborate with one of these companies. And since I started to do this, I've never been more happy. It made me getting access to amazing knowledge and also to explore and move my work beyond imagination. As long as there's footsteps on the moon, the sky is not the limit. There's a whole world to smell, as a whole world to educate how to smell. Off I went with my small devices that primarily had been used for this kind of purposes. Collecting small smell sources, off I went with the small device that I had in my pockets. Like I had a smartphone, I had a small device that enabled me to collect smell molecules, volatiles that emit from smell sources. Amazing. So off I went in different scenarios, collecting information about invisible realities. The analysis took place in the US, in the big lab of IFF, the company that supported me since 2004 with a fully equipped research lab in Berlin. And this is the result. I get the scope of the molecules I've been collecting. The invisible reality become materialized. And this is the lab that do the job. And this is the identification of the molecules. With this kind of data, I go to my lab in Berlin, consisting of 4,000 molecules and beyond, and I start to reconstruct, simulate, so to say, simulate the reality that I just been snapshotting out there with my devices. So this is me in the lab in Berlin, doing this as precise as possible. And every nanomolecule, any nano unit has to be put down. And it's all about mathematics. If you do one unit too much, it keeps the wrong way, and you have to do it all over again. So a lot of work. I mean, to make a fragrance, you literally do an abstract version of reality. This is like copying. It's like you do an image, and then you print the image. So this is like literally making invisible reality, you know, a copy of the invisible reality. Sorry. You're so silent. Smell each other a little bit. Come on, Holland. Have fun. I mean, it's all about the senses. We should have enjoyed, you know, when we speak about the senses. The senses provide joy back to life and playfulness. And I think that's what's missing a lot in the world of design and art these days. I'm sorry, but it's true. In life in general, so many issues out there. We are suffering from disembodiment, and I think we need to put it back on track by training our senses properly for the purpose. Anyway, so these are different way of me, putting my smells back to realities. I've been doing up to 52 smellscapes for different purposes. Everything from pollution, you know, segregation, you know, all kind of issues all over the world. And this is primarily how people operate if they come across hardcore smells. Similar like this. So one of the first city smellscapes I did was the city where I am based, which is Berlin, and the purpose was education. This is Berlin, and these are the area I tracked down with my devices, track down neighborhoods that not necessarily are anything to look at, but have amazing smells. And not very often, are visited for various purposes and reasons. And this was Berlin in 2004, so it was also a lot of other issues in the city. And I took that type of reality, placed it in something that was familiar, in a language that normally was understood, looking like this. So this is East Berlin, South Berlin, West Berlin, North Berlin, Southeast Berlin, Northwest Berlin, West-South Berlin, Northeast, North-South, East-West, North-South, East-West, and this is how it looked like. And triggering people to get curious about the neighborhood. Inside these bottles, there are messages. And off people went to the neighborhood to find the sources. Unfortunately, this work got destroyed in MoMA because somebody wanted to smell it. In museums, you are not allowed to smell, except for Tate and also Tangley Museum in Basel, which I did a couple of years ago. Anyway, so in this case, this work don't exist anymore because somebody wanted to smell it, actually. It caused that one bottle fell down, and MoMA was smelling from North Berlin for the rest of the 2 months of the exhibition. And of course, they called me and said, Ms. Tolaas, did you organize this? I said, yes, of course I did. I organized somebody pull down the bottle with the worst neighborhood so that you got the point of my work. So mission was accomplished. I had insured the work for a fortune, and MoMA had no clue how to deal with smell in museums, so they paid me cash immediately. So we have to be smart in this world. Anyway, there's another project in Kansas where the issue was about segregation in the Midwest, and I made a smell game for children, but ended up being a smell game for grown-ups. And as a permanent contribution to the editorial offices. So you had different devices, you had different analog devices, maps indicating where potentially you could find smells in 2 states and 2 cities, diverse neighborhoods, different issues of concern, but what was mattering here was smells. And there's no good and no bad smells. It's all about having interesting smells. This was the rules. Get out there. If you had a smartphone, you could use your smartphone. And off people went, having this nose in the areas where there potentially were some smells. And this map indicate where you potentially could find the smells. People went out in the field looking for the smells and downloading and contributing to building up a database of what kind of smells, where does the smell come from, why is it justified for be there, etc. So literally using reality, performing research is what I do with my work. You know, using creative platform to do research that I take further on. You know, in the world of creativity, you have that privilege, that freedom of stating things from a subjective perspective, allowing you to do things that you not necessarily would be allowed to do in the science context. So here people are smelling their own city, reacting and giving me feedback, and it was amazing. The project still goes on, and one of the more popular way of understanding diversity in a very complex way. So here is the headquarters where you see the app full-time, real-time, and whenever somebody's out in the city finding smell, the nose in the middle is clicking, and also here it collects language, so you get terms of expression towards each of the smells. Another project I did in Amman in Jordan, in the refugee camps with Queen Rania last year, was also about tolerance and trying to kind of make something positive for the children in a very complex way, and this is a game again with smell and moving smells around. So here on the table you see different jars, so the kids could play around with smell. This smell don't belong to us, but the smell belongs to you, and they started a conversation and commenting on each other's smells in a very playful way, and so beyond. Another situation is Tokyo. I got invited to do a project, and the criteria was, Ms. Tolaas, Japanese have problems with smells. So we can offer you masks, we can offer you an air cleaner for your room. Nobody will come into your room because we have problems with smell. This is the cue to my installation. So here you have the maps. People get approached to smells in the neighborhoods and give comments and giving reasons for keeping those smells and protecting those smells. So a lot of these projects is also about how do we preserve time? You know, in cities, I have smell archives from 52 cities, and these document pollution, it documents segregation, it documents tolerance over a period of time, and in a different way, you know. We make images of these cities, and there were dark, dark clouds, but to document and preserve history with the sense of smell makes big difference. If you understand something using your nose for the purpose, you understand it much more substantial and a concept of emotion, and you will never forget it. So I will get back to that a little bit later. So these people are smelling Tokyo maybe for the first time. And whenever I come up with a shampoo or detergent, it's like, oh, no, we don't want this. We want the real stuff, So having fun, getting back to real life, using the nose for the purpose is the point here. Decontextualize the city, placing it in a beautiful context, hardcore reality, become fun again. So this is Mexico City, which I did with Harvard, and it's about pollution. This is my version of pollution. So over a period of 10 years, we are recording pollution in Mexico City using nose and a lot of technology to do this. So these are one-year results and the process that's going on, and we are archiving all the smells and breaking down each of the smell to the different components, what ingredients are still in the kind of cloud of pollution, which is a very abstract word, but nevertheless, it tells a little bit about the issue. So in addition to collecting smells and simulating smells, I'm also very concerned about how do we actually speak about smells. As we all know, we tend to talk about smells like it smells good, it smells bad. A lot of cultures have very precise wordings about how to speak about smells and also precise naming smells, similar like we speak about colors. Naming colors is also very abstract. What does green mean? Why isn't there a language for smells? Very much because in our part of the world, we communicate smell in terms of perfume ads. Marketing took over, the science left. This has to change. And I think in the future, we will need a proper language to speak about smells. So the Nasala dictionary is an attempt in that direction. So this is Mexico City, recording people speaking about pollution. And I made a film, 21 hours film, where people like speaking and expressing pollution in one term only. And all that data I turned into dictionaries. So these are several terms that came out of that specific project. Here's another situation, which I did at the Design Biennale in Istanbul, working with Koç University, and they're looking into Turkish language. And these are smell indications, and we had an interactive project that immediately the term ended up in university and was worked on, and the dictionary was growing meanwhile the exhibition was going on. So we added up like 1,000 words within 3 months. Another group of works that I'm pretty famous for is the body smellscapes. In 2006, I was invited by MIT to do a project around the senses and new technology. This was during the Bush government and the whole notion of terrorism and paranoia in the US. I was curious, can I smell that a person is afraid? Yes, you can. And I can smell all kind of state of psychological state of mind. I can smell if you're happy, I can smell if you are afraid, absolutely. Because I train my nose for that purpose. So here, I replicated the smell of 21 phobic men that suffer from serious phobia towards each other, towards any kind of reason, whatever, any kind of reason towards other humans. And I turned that smell into nanotechnology that enabled the smell to stay on the wall. So the wall became a metaphor of the skin. So you have literally to touch the wall to release the smell. So here you smell a person's sweat, literally. So this is the Louisiana Museum in Copenhagen. This is a Minsheng Museum in Shanghai. And the reaction is tremendously different. Again, telling that our relation to smell is very personal and also very cultural dependent. Some part of the world, smell of sweat is amazing. I did this project in Korea. A veteran from the Japanese-Korean War was crying in front of the wall. He said, "Ms. Tolaas, this is the first time since the war I smelled a human body. Can I please have some of this smell?" So I sent him 20 milligrams. And I said, "This should be enough for the rest of your life." And I got a lot of emails from his grandson, how much his grandfather was happy smelling this smell. So, I mean, there are many ways of reacting. So this woman, she couldn't believe she could smell a guy all over. This is the reaction in China. China after 5 minutes. This is the reaction after a couple of months. It's just amazing. It just really, you release a lot of emotion in people, and this also in China. And yeah, so we preserve this wall, and it belongs to a museum now. So you have a sweat wall with lips kissing, and it's, I think, pretty beautiful. So I place myself in different contexts of the world, because I think there is no limit for where there are smells, and there's no limit for educate how to smell. So this is about smell of fear of smell, speaking about body as identity through smell. We have a body identity as unique, a body smell identity as unique as your fingerprint. We hardly have chance to find out about this. We smell the deodorant before we smell the mother milk, and this is not right. We have the right to know what's going on. First, we should find out, and then we can decide if we want to cover up. And there's enough science and knowledge out there to do that. So please try. Not just believe what marketing say. It's not true. It makes things worse in most scenarios. So here I'm speaking about body sweat. So here are some of my replicated body sweat. Here you have a portrait of a person. Here you have my soap of my sweat, which was placed in the Minsheng Bank all over Shanghai. So people came and washed themselves and smelled like me. And reminding themselves like, oh, maybe you removed yourself from yourself. So people got very confused and said, oh, but I wash myself and I smell like sweat. What's going on? So just like a thought provocation. So here, if your boyfriend leaves you, maybe you make a soap of him. And there's a body lotion of guy number 12, just in case the soap is not enough. There's a project I did with Nick Knight in London for a couple of years ago. And yeah, I have a request all the time. Oh, my boyfriend or my girlfriend left me. Can you make a soap of him, please? Here is his underwear. Here is his T-shirt. I said, yeah. So there's a lot of things we can do with smells, not just making another deodorant. Another extreme is the following project. I was part of a project on synthetic aesthetics and had a resident at Harvard Medical School around biology, synthetic biology, and synthetic chemistry. And again, the issue is the body and smell in my case. So if you speak about the body, you very often refer to cheese. And if you speak about the smell of cheese, it's a positive thing to be smelly. But if you speak about the smell of body, it's not necessarily positive. But having said that, you know, we live in a world, as I said before, that are sterilized, sanitized to such an extent is not anymore healthy for us, and our immune system is suffering tremendously. So we have to change this. And we have to change our relation, in this case, to bacteria. So this project is about an attempt to change our relation to bacteria. So what we did was to sequence, to find out where on the body we find which bacteria. And this is the, sorry, exactly what I shouldn't do. This is the rind of a cheese, this is the skin. So the same we did with cheeses. And we started to compare. To make a long story short, in the lab, we started to use human bacteria, skin bacteria, for the purpose to ferment cheese. And we used our bacteria first, Christina Agapakis and myself, and then we were invited to the World Congress of Synthetic Biology at Stanford University, and we used the occasion to take some celebrities as donors. And the pitch was, if in the future you would have to contribute to food production, and the only way you can make something substantial was to donate your own skin bacteria, which part of the body would you take the bacteria from, and what potentially cheese would you be? So we got several donors Here you have Olaf Eliasson. He donated his tears. Here you have Hans Ulrich Oberst from Serpentine Gallery in London, his forehead, and so on and so forth. Here Mike Zuckerberg, Michael Pollan, New York Times, Bill Gates, my favorite. And the fantastic thing is that these cheeses smell like the people. These cheeses are now at the Trinity Gallery, the Science Gallery in Trinity University in Dublin. So if anybody wants to come close to any of these celebrities, please give me a call and I will organize that you can visit Trinity University in Dublin. It's amazing. And with this kind of vintage cheeses now, and we will see how long they will last. I have clients, commercial, I also work in the commercial world, I need to earn money sometime. I have clients who think what I do makes sense. This guy you all know, he has a tremendous amount of used sneakers, and I happen to get access to some of them before the London Olympics. So I scanned some of it, and I found amazing smell molecules that cause several interesting, bacteria, cause some interesting smells. And the similar molecules and bacteria I found in this cheese. So on behalf of all that, I then used the big bacteria in the sneakers to ferment cheese, and we had Adidas sneaker cheese for the London Olympics VIP of Adidas, and it was a huge success. And this is edible, by the way. Smell and memory is very, very efficient. I think it's maybe the most efficient way to memorize. 100% of smell memory remained after 1 year. 30% of visual memory remained after 3 months. And the first time we start the process of memorizing smell is beginning of life. And the first time you smell something is what is important. That reference is what remains till you die. And if that moment is positive or negative, your relation to that smell remains positive or negative endlessly, unless you want to change, which is what I did with my 7 years of field work. So it's a big issue, about your connotation, your relation to a smell. We are born general. Cockroaches, rats, and humans are the biggest generalists on planet Earth. There is no genes that tells this is bad and this is good. And I'm not speaking about poison, that's completely different reactions. It's a physical reaction. If something is poisoning and dangerous, you withdraw, but it's not because the smell is bad. Don't forget this. Culture, education cause your prejudices. So if we can contribute that our kids from an early stage learn how to deal with smell in a different way, the planet will look different. Tolerance starts with the nose, not with how you look like and what you believe in. Is absolutely true. So here's a project about memory. I was asked by Christian Bielale to do a project about transporting spices from Kerala to Europe. And I was interested if I could find traces of smells in the ballast stones used on the boat, carried by per people. And we developed a technology with the university to track molecules within the stone. And I replicated this molecule, put them back on the stone, and placed them in the context of the Cochin Biennale. It was amazing. People couldn't get enough. People were coming and praying in front of the stones. Finally, somebody praising the past and all the work done by all this, per people. They carry the stones on the boat to transport spices from Kerala to, among other, Holland. So this was a very, very strong project, and got a lot of attention in the press. And on behalf of this, I'm doing quite a lot of work in India, which I'm not going to go into. But anyway, here is another situation where how can you memorize a situation and use the smell for the purpose. So this is the Serpentine Gallery, the Ai Weiwei Herzogenaurach Pavilion, where I tracked the traces of the pavilion, and what remains is only the smell of it. This is my device, and here you have the only leftover, which is the smell. The pavilion don't exist anymore. Another project which I'm involved in at the moment, how can you, on behalf of smell molecule, maybe understand the history of a building. So this is Hampton Court, and we are tracking molecules of the building behind the wallpapers and looking into them and see how can we understand, and is there information there that we otherwise wouldn't know. So this is new ways of kind of also preserving and using a smell to find out what has been going on over history. So another situation where we, in Kensington Palace, use smell to navigate through the palace, the George II's time in the palace without any artifacts, but people moved around, and we produced a smell map that gave an indication of certain actions that have been taking place in the different rooms. Anyway, another aspect of my work is smell coding, which I think is very, very, a lot of opportunities. What I mean here is similar to gas. In the beginning, gas, as you all know, gas don't smell. In 1937, gas got added a molecule on the top of it to make it perceivable. Otherwise, you wouldn't know gas is leaking. So this is a learned smell code. And I've been using this for several projects. Among others, I made a smell of World War I for the German Army History Museum. It's like this is the smell of World War I. It's an abstract smell, but it's information about a situation that not necessarily had a smell. But you have to learn this code, and whenever you smell it again, you know this is smell of World War I, or this is smell of gas, etc. So I have a database, 1,500 abstract smells. No whatsoever indication of giving any direction, anything you've ever smelled in life. Similar to the first moment in life when you smell something. This is what happens when you have an abstract smell in front of you. So I just launched a smell memory kit. So here you can, the moment you want to remember, you release an abstract smell to it, and you give it a content code. So literally, this moment, I want you all to remember. So you all have ampulla, and you release the smell. And whenever you want to recall this moment, you release the molecule again. And you can reorder the same molecule endlessly from the database. So this device looks like this. And yes, very simple, but incredibly efficient. You can travel with it, you can use it for learning, you can use it for whatever, anything you want to remember. And what is amazing here is that you contemplate what you want to remember, what you want to spend a molecule on, rather than snapshotting here and there and not enjoying the moment. Here, in this case, I said, oh, should I give this moment a molecule? Do I want to remember it? And I think that's very important. Yeah? I'm soon finished. I'm running out of time. Anyway, so here are a use project that I'm now implementing in Southeast Asia at the moment. We develop a molecule for learning, rendering information. So these kids are learning mathematics in the context of a matter molecule. And we tested, after 2 weeks, they had a test, and the way these kids performed in the context of the smell was tremendously. And we did the test without the smell. Absolutely big difference. So this is also small and simple ways of improving very important issues. A lot of education have problems with concentration. So I think here is a big opportunity, and we are getting some funding of Bill Gates Foundation of Education. We're trying to implement it at some part of Africa at the moment. So I think it's gonna change the world and yeah, hopefully have big impact. Other ways of using the smell molecules, make your personal smell memory archive. Let's say you're walking in amazing context and you give it a smell moment. Education is, as I said, one of the prime force of my work. Everywhere I am, whatever I do, one aspect of education is a must. So these are the issues that I try to cover. These kids are learning chemistry of smell. These kids are learning, and the earlier you start, the less prejudice is there. And these kids have totally alert senses. They hear everything, they smell everything, they see everything. It's incredible, and we should use that opportunity. We shouldn't let that chance go away. And then, in the end, maybe they can use technology and choose technology in a much more sophisticated way, if they know what the senses can do. But I think we have the right to know that first. So these kids are learning what it means to have a sense. Looks very primitive, but it's very efficient. This boy had never ever made a drawing in his life. He smelled flour, and this is his drawing. And this is another one. He smelled sewage, and this is a drawing. And the teacher said, "How did you do this?" I said, "The boy just smelled sewage. This is the drawing." The naming was made by the teacher because she thought I wouldn't understand the drawing. The World Science Festival is in Chinatown in New York. I do every summer with children smelling the Chinatown. And these kids have no problems. They have more city, more neighborhood. I don't want Golgat. I don't want soap. I want real life. So all these kids have no prejudices until the parents come and say, "Listen, it's stinky, don't do it." Pollution looks like this. Looks like this. This is my pollution. Have fun with pollution. Play with pollution. Take away the danger. Take away the fear. Learn in the context of play and joy. The senses enable that to happen. These kids provide new ways of approaching disasters and issues that concern all of us. Pollution game for kindergartens. Come on, why not? Learn your city, museum, for children only. The scale is from the view of a child. So these kids run through, learn how to understand the city, here using their nose. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sissel.
This is, by the way, my new assistant in India. Have you heard about these guys? Nasal Rangers. Look out for them. They might show up in Eindhoven very soon.
Sissel, please come forward, because there's an opportunity for people to ask. We don't have really time, but it's nice to have questions. Ooh, there's one here. I can see that. Sissel, can I ask you to...
Too much light.
In the light. Oh,
I'm so jet-lagged.
Now we finally know how you look like.
I'm so jet-lagged, anyway.
Here's a question right away.
I'm sorry?
Could you open the microphone, please?
Do your field archives suffer from...
Wait, this is better?
Do your field archives suffer from a smell-by date? In other words, do they go off?
I have all the formula. I can reproduce them endlessly for the purpose to understand. And that's why there's the issue of language is important here. That's the only way you can also trigger the language part, because smell disappears so quick. But having said that, what I do is catch a moment of a smell. In the next nanosecond, the smell have changed already. So you do a snapshot of me now, I do like this, I look different. And the same is with the smell. I snapshot you now, and she come close to you, and you smell different, because she put some molecules on you, yeah? And this is what happened, yeah? So I don't operate here with general rules. I said, this is my version of the world, yeah? So it's a personal archive. If you will be out there doing the same, it will smell different and looks different, yeah?
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Sissel here? Because I was thinking, no?
No questions.
Oh, yeah, there is a question coming here.
So we saw a lot of words for smell, but were you able to develop a language
Yes.
like color?
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm working on that.
You're working on it?
Yes,
Because
yes.
I wanted to
Can
know
you give
where
an
we got
example?
to.
Yes. I have a dictionary, yes. But, 40 minutes of 20 years of work is a little bit limit. But we are publishing our dictionary, yeah. And the way I do it is really, as I said before, decontextualize, snapshot of invisible reality, reproduce that, and put it back in the context I find it, trigger language. And it starts off maybe, oh, I dislike, I don't accept that. I accept when the term interesting comes across, and then we start to speak about the smell. And the earlier you start to trigger that, the language part, like with children, who are, still free and not any, not that amount of prejudices, the results are amazing. And what comes out is very, phonetically, is very abstract. You know, it's just because smell is so quick in processing, two synapses, you immediately trigger your emotion and your memory. So it's very quick. It bypasses the language part in the brain. So it tend to be kind of sounds that come out, like abstract phonetics, and that's very interesting. And when you do, let's say, 50 kids with the same smell, then things start to get interesting.
And also, when you come back to smell and colors, sorry, I'm right behind you.
Okay.
Smell me, yeah. Am I happy? You said you could say that.
Not so happy.
Oh.
You're pretty exhausted.
Oh, that's not a good thing
Oh
to
my
get.
God. I don't think you slept very well last night.
No, I was thinking, coming back to colors, and I could say to somebody, oh, I've got a very colorful life, which is actually quite an abstract thing to say, but I think most people would think it would be something positive. When I say, I went to Sissel, and it was quite smelly, it always has like a negative connotation, so we also need to work on that the word smelly is always like negative, has a negative connotation, no?
Depends which language you speak.
Ah, okay. So it's a Western thing or an
Yes,
English thing.
Definitely.
Ah, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Haha, that's good. Is there any? Oh, there's a question here.
Hi. You touched on it a bit when you talked about your work in Japan, but have you found any differences in different cultures in terms of how they perceive different smells?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely different. Like every individual is different. Not only culture. I don't even operate with culture. I operate with individuals. Everyone in this room perceives smell completely different.
And what about the meaning of different smells in different cultures?
Also, depending on personal experience with the smells. That's why in some of my work, the abstract aspect is very important. You understand? Whereas, still no relation to the smell. Like, no references, nothing like, for example,
There are also universal things like sphere, so to say.
Yes.
I can imagine that's something kind of universal.
Yes, but everybody have a different body smell, so of course.
Even for smell, yeah.
Yes.
For fear, it's
Yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Two more questions, and then we continue. Yes.
So much
Mine is
lighter.
actually a bit similar to hers. Yeah, over here. The certain kind of smell you prefer, would that be a thing which would be changing as well? And do you have any idea why you have certain preferences?
I don't understand the question.
Do you, if you have, you probably have some favorite smells?
No, I don't.
No, she doesn't.
Well, I do actually.
And then
I noticed.
I don't.
Okay.
A lot of people do, yes? So let's say normal people
But listen,
do.
I do.
No, most people do. But
Yes.
can it change, and how can it change?
Yes.
How,
But
can
you
you
have to learn
influence
this.
that?
That's why I say it's so important that you start with the children. Because there's nowhere you can learn. There's no school that has smell part of curriculum. There's nowhere you learn about chemistry or smell, nowhere you learn about
But do you
how to
know
use your nose.
do you have any idea why you have certain preferences or not?
Yes, I know.
How?
Because you experience in a situation where something was negative.
Okay.
So your relation to that smell, from that moment, for the negative experience, is why you have a negative or problematic relation to the smell.
Okay.
And there's no rehab for this. I'm working on it, but there should be a smell rehab, yes. I think that's a big issue.
When you go to
Yes.
the toilet, make
There's a
sure...
lot of prejudices. Tolerance, as I said before, start with how things smells like. George Orwell did a lot about this. It's not about your skin color or your, whatever, what you believe in that caused the problem. Is if you cannot accept each other's smell, that's the end of the sympathy,
So going to the toilet only when you're really happy, maybe that makes your
Anyway.
shit smell really good. One last question. I don't know where Jip
I'm
and
leaving.
Johanna, the two J's, are. Yeah, there. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. One last
sorry.
question. Oh, sorry, Sissel. No, and then I say, yeah,
Okay.
Sissel. That's like the end then. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Jumping off.
Because
No, don't jump. It's too high. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
Here.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
Sissel, she's there.
Because when you talk about how you collect those smells, you collect certain
those-
objects here.
Ah, yes.
So you collect certain objects to take back to your laboratory
yes,
and
combination.
fabricate. Yeah, but I was thinking, for instance, when you collect the molecular of the old building, it's also influenced by the environment that it's in.
Yes.
So, for instance, you collect
Yes,
the
but then you break up the molecule and you can separate the things.
So you separate that
Yes.
from the
Yes, and then you do
influence of the
separate
environment.
collecting in different areas. So you have to be very focused.
Okay.
And we have different devices that enable you to really cover up.
And then how you define, for instance, the smell of lost area of Berlin?
I'm sorry?
Because I can imagine it's all smells interact together to formulate the smell of lost Berlin.
Yes.
And then you
Yes,
sort of
it's
put
very
all
complex. It's complex, yes.
But this woman can break molecules, and
Yes.
I believe that straight away. Okay, thank you so much, Sissel Tolaas. Thank you. Woo!